How is it going, guys? This is Patrick James, America's charisma consultant for men, and today I've got a special treat for you. I brought on Marni, the wing girl, to give us the female perspective on dating and what you should and should not do in the dating world and interacting with women. It was very valuable, and it was originally intended to be a short interview where we just answered a few questions that I've gotten from you guys recently, but it turned out to be a full-length 40-some minute interview because, when people have a lot of value to share, they just start spewing it and going off on all these different random tangents. So you can be guaranteed to get a lot of value out of this interview. So I hope you guys enjoy, because I certainly enjoyed conducting it. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Patrick James here, and I've brought on Marni, the wing girl, today to do a quick Q&A/interview with you guys. I think it'll be very valuable to get that female opinion for dating and attraction and even charisma, which is what I like to focus on. So, Marni, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is a wonderful day in Arizona, where I'm from. So
always a wonderful day in Arizona.
Yeah. You live in California?
Yeah. Well, so it's always a wonderful day in California as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to do a Q&A. But first,
Okay.
before we get started, I'd like to kind of get your background, and so everybody watching can know what's going on and what your story is.
Okay. My background is that I've been a wing girl or a professional wing girl for nearly 12 years, which is just insane to me. But I've been a wing girl pretty much my entire life, from the day that I had my first male friend. I was always helping him with women, understand women, get women, facilitate conversations, pump him up, validate him to other women. So I've been a wing girl for a very long time.
So what does a professional wing girl entail? Is it just like you motivating guys to go talk to that girl, go talk to that girl?
Professional wing girl. It means that I've been doing this as my job and my way of making money for a very long time. But even, more so, I now do it professionally, meaning that I have credentials behind me and research and a level of expertise from working with thousands and thousands and thousands of men all over the world to help them become better and more successful with women without turning them into jerks or turning them into complete wusses who, would never be able to get a woman.
No, that's awesome, because I've gone out with girls that are my friends, and we've run into like pickup artists in Las Vegas, and they're just like neg, and I don't even like using that term, but you can tell that it's totally contrived, totally like rehearsed. Yeah. And my friends were so annoyed at it. Like, they didn't even know they were pickup artists until I told them, but they're like, oh, that makes sense. He just was like berating me back and forth. Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, that's not attractive. He doesn't know what's going on.
I have a podcast called the Ask Women Podcast, and I have all different types of male experts, female experts, regular girls, regular guys come onto the show. So a ton of different opinions. And so, I've had a lot of time to think about what I really think about pickup artists. And when I first started doing what I was doing, I was very against having set routines that weren't your own and having templates and techniques and tricks, mainly because I was kind of insulted by them as a woman, that like, oh, why would you need a trick to get me? Yeah. Why would you need to memorize something? But through the years and having worked with, as I said, thousands of men, and myself being an anxious, uncomfortable, socially awkward person at the very core of who I am, I now really understand the need for things like negs and for systems and techniques to be in place. The thing is that a lot of people get really locked in to these systems that are created, and they don't have the confidence to understand why these systems work and then build upon that system and create their own versions. There's nothing wrong with having something rehearsed, as long as it's something that is your own, because, as you know, you can't be confident all the time. And it's the same thing in sales, right? You have certain things that you can pull out of your pocket that work in certain situations that can be authentic and true to who you are, so that when your brain freezes at certain moments, when you're standing across from a super hot girl with like huge boobs, and you're like, I don't know what to say, you can pull something really awesome. I'm like reaching into my back pocket right now. pull something awesome out of your back pocket that you can use in that moment. So I am in full support of working with systems and having some things prepared as long as they're your own. Now, in terms of negging, which is really just a way of poking at a woman and teasing her, there are good negs and there are bad negs. If there's a neg that's meant to objectify and feed off of a woman's deep-rooted insecurities, that's not good in my books. But if the neg is meant to be playful and jokey and some way of teasing her, if she's bantering and teasing back with you, I'm in full support of doing it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Like, I totally agree with the whole concept of the neg and like teasing girls. And it's more, I like to think of it as like back on the playground when you were a kid, you tease girls kind of like in the same way. And it was fun. But I think where it goes wrong and what this specific guy was doing in that situation was he approached her and she was like asking, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from here. And he goes, oh, that's stupid. And then like everything she said, like berating that. And I think that's where it's like totally uncalibrated.
I can't stand it as well when guys won't give you an answer. You're like, no, what do you do for a living? Oh, I don't know, like whatever lines they want to say. You get bored with it after a while. Things that worked 10 years ago don't work as well now because we have social media, we have tons of people seemingly being our options in front of us all the time. So if people stop giving out information and sort of play these crappy juvenile games, you just swipe left. Like it's just so easy to get rid of them because they're not on par with the other people that you're being presented with. So I completely agree with you that is definitely not acceptable.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess let's get right into a few of the questions that I've been getting recently. Lately, I've been working on a product for like first dates and even dating in general. And so the questions I picked out kind of revolve around actually like going on a date with a girl. So I want to get your female opinion on these. So the first question, I guess, is more related to what we were just talking about. It's from a guy named Wacky, I think is his name. He goes, question, if a woman isn't testing you in the interaction, does that mean she is not attracted to you or that she has already accepted your higher status and doesn't feel the need to test you? It might even be that they are testing me, but I'm not noticing it. Advice or thoughts on this would be appreciated. Thanks.
I think Wacky's got to check back in with himself a little bit because basically he's saying, I don't know if she is, and I don't know if she isn't, and if she's pulled back from testing me. Okay, I will say this. There's some women who are really shy. There's some women who are really bantery. There are some women who are going to ask questions. And I know that a lot of men see these questions as being tests. If you're unclear as to whether or not a woman is into you, you can slightly escalate this whatever situation you're having in your interaction. So for example, if you're having a nice conversation and you're connecting and like you really like baseball and she really likes it too and you're poking fun about like the teams that she likes, right? And you're having a nice connection, but you're like, oh, she's not testing me, we're just connecting, we're having a really nice rapport right now, let's see if she likes me. You can touch her in some way. You can sit back and pause and look at her, put a smirk on your face, and see how she reacts then. So you don't need her to be constantly testing you in order for her to show that there's a level of interest, because at different points in your interaction on a date, you're going to be in different zones. You're going to be building a connection and establishing rapport. You're going to then, have the point where you're sitting back not being sure about what's going. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. My point is that don't wait for tests to be spat out of her mouth. You can control the interaction by testing her and seeing what her reaction is. So if you sit back and you relax and you smirk, or you lean forward and you touch her and you don't say anything, but maybe you move the hair away from her eyes, and she pulls back and she covers up her body, then that's a sign that she's not into you in that way. But if she sort of sinks into what you're doing, maybe gets a little bit shy and pulls back a bit, but blushes and still wants to be engaged with you, then that means that she's into you and she's on board with whatever it is that you want to escalate to.
So I like what you just said right there, and what you said definitely hits on what I was thinking because I know guys who are so in their head when they're talking to women, and in a way that fucks them up, right?
Totally.
And so I always
Disconnects you.
right, and you're like in your head, and you're thinking like, oh, is that attraction? Is that attraction? So one of the I teach around two things: self-amusing, always be self-amusing, and not in like a dickhead way, but almost like a playful way. And two, assume all positive things. Like assume if I'm talking to her, I'm just a confident, attractive man, and she's gonna be attracted to that. If not, then it just wasn't meant to be. Like that's just what I do.
Amazing attitude. It is really hard to do in the moment. What are ways that you tell guys to like take a pause to get back to that space? Because listen, I've been in situations where I'm sitting across from a guy, and as confident as I can be when I'm at home or out with my girlfriends, when I'm sitting across from a guy that I'm into, my brain, it's crazy. It's going all over the place. It's super floaty. I can't think of a single thing to say that comes out of my mouth. And I have certain techniques and tactics and tricks, whatever you want to call them, for me to get back into my body and be present. What are things that you tell your guys to do?
So that's very interesting. I always recommend meditation to like practice being present, and that's not a new concept. But there's another thing that I do.
I've never heard of it before. What do you mean it's not new?
I don't even know. I guess like monks do that or something. So yeah, and the other thing I do is like it revolves around the self-amusing part. If I'm in a conversation and I literally can't think of anything to say, I just like remove the filter. I will recognize that there is a filter, and I just start speaking. Like I have a tendency to just speak my mind constantly, and when I just give myself the permission to let go for like 5 to 10 seconds, it becomes natural, right? Back when I was in college, my friends used to say something about me, and I took it as a compliment personally. I don't know if it was meant as a compliment, but they would say, Patrick is just as surprised at the words that comes out of his mouth as everybody else is.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
That's an amazing reputation. I will say that I think I'm kind of similar.
Yeah.
When I first started dating my husband, I think I had bruises on my ankles all the time because he would just kick me under the table because of things that would spew out of my mouth that I wasn't even thinking about. I have a similar belief to you because I used to filter myself so much. I was always in my head. I was trying to control what I was saying, and like 10 minutes after I could have said a statement, that's when I would throw a statement out there because it took me so long to process how to say it and if I could say it. And I had a stroke when I was 20 years old, and I made a promise to myself after I recovered from my stroke that I'm not going to put that filter on anymore. I'm not going to be rude or abrasive or hurt people's feelings on purpose, but I'm not going to filter what I say. So even as you said, like giving yourself that permission to just spew things out of your mouth, and as you get more comfortable with doing that, then you can start to control it a little bit more, and you can have those nervous feelings just subside much more easily than they had in the past.
Yeah. For sure. And I guess, going back to like not being in your head, and I just thought about like routines and like scripted negs and all that. I know guys who literally won't give themselves the permission to do that, be free flowing in conversation, and they'll have to memorize like the perfect thing to say in that situation and the perfect thing. And one of my buddies here in Arizona, I'll go out with him, and he studies a lot of pickup. But I literally went out to eat with him, and he was naming off all these like cold reads that he read in a book, just like back and forth, one right after the other, to this waitress. And like, dude, do you even have a personality? Like, what's there?
I know. Well, to you, it probably seems like that, but like because you're like, this is so not you. What you were making fart jokes 2 minutes ago, and now you're Mr. Smooth and Charismatic. So, but I think initially that worked really well, right? But once you run out of lines, then you don't have anything else to say, and so that's why a lot of women get really into this pickup stuff, and not into it because they're not doing pickup stuff themselves, but they do get won over by it because some of these things really do work really well. They're engaging, they're thought-provoking questions, they're psychological. They all hit on certain emotional triggers for women. So while you may think your buddy's a douchebag, she may be thinking, oh, he's really interesting. These are really interesting questions that you're asking me. It just sucks that later on down the road when he's got nothing left in his back pocket that's his own, that's where it kind of bites him in the ass a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move on to the next question.
Okay. But sorry, to add on to that,
Yeah.
I will say, if you can do what he did with your own personality, and that's what you and I teach, is how to actually make that who you are and have those lines be your lines, then that is going to win every single time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, things like cold reads or anything like that, like, I don't think that should be something. It's good to script it at first so you can get the gist of it, learn how it feels, learn how she's going to react if you do it right or even if you do it wrong, and get that feedback. But as I've like progressed in like improving myself and my own social skills and even teaching other guys how to do it, a cold read no longer becomes a scripted line. It becomes a thing I naturally do because I know that's an attractive thing to do. So like if I'm going to make a cold read, like for the example, I was at a bar the other day and this girl was wearing, it was right after the Paris attacks, and she was wearing like peace earrings and like really fancy like hat that you'd see like Picasso wear or something, and it was like tie-dye.
Yeah.
And I just walked up to her, I was like, you know, that's a really cool hat. Like, that's very interesting. Like, what made you choose to wear that combination? And like, I wasn't even thinking about the Paris attacks, but she loved that I said that. And that wasn't a cold read or like
that's an observation.
Right, exactly. And so
what happens is when you stop getting trapped in your head, you can actually open your eyes and start seeing other people. And then you can start making observations about them. Then you make associations. And then you have really interesting, fascinating conversations with people because you're coming from a curious place.
Right.
And the problem with being trapped inside your head is that you don't allow yourself to really be the you that you are. You know? And that's the hardest part, is breaking out of that trap, that circular trap, that mindset of negativity and putting yourself down. And as soon as you can break out from that, then all these things can start to build, and it's just like this endless world of opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting, like, because the book, The Game, or all those routines, I'm not, you know, obviously there's no scientific evidence behind, like, all the lines, but I'm pretty sure that...
No, there is.
Oh, there is? Okay.
It's all based on psychological persuasion tactics. There is actually scientific research that states that these things work. Not on every single person, but it's this, you know, like if you read The Power of Persuasion, or you read How to Win Friends and Influence Others, or whatever it's called, it's like they're based on some scientific evidence.
Okay, yeah. In that aspect, the point that I was getting at was like, I'm pretty sure one guy tried it, and it like naturally came up, but it like he took note that, oh, that worked when I said that. How can I improve on that? And that's how those things came about.
Sure.
So it wasn't like some guy sitting in his basement thinking, oh, if I say this, she's going to react like this. And yeah.
Well, we had, on our podcast recently, do you know Brad P?
I've heard of him.
Okay, so Brad P was on our show, and he is a numbers guy, statistics guy, and he loves research. Like, if there's something to be researched, he is all for it. He used to be a big geek with girls, like huge. He still is a huge geek, one of the biggest geeks that I know. But he's super sexy, gets a lot of women, and he's a huge fan of routines based on research that he's collected. So when he first
started...
like
personal, like what he's actually experienced as far as that kind of research? Okay, yeah,
exactly. Okay, so for him, he started off when he moved to New York, because he was horrible with girls. He was a musician, like all the things that you think would get him laid and like get him girls, like it never worked for him. He's like, okay, I have all these things now, why am I still not getting girls? So he started researching and practicing, and he became like the practice king. I call him the practice king. He went to the subways of New York, and on like 50 plus women a day, he would say the same line over and over and over again and see what the results were. And if something worked like 60% of the time, he would continue with that line and then improve upon it, right? So I forget what his whole course of, of how he got to what he got. But like it took him a week and a half. But every single day he would try like a different opening line or different like angle that he was using to break into conversation. And he found, what was the line that he said? He found that the best line for him to use was, excuse me, do you know where I can find some cotton candy around here? So it was something like that. But there's a template behind that. It's an interesting question. You don't hear it every day. It's kind of playful, and you can take it in many different ways. And so from that construct, he can build other things from there. But he did a lot of research to find out that actually does get people engaged, and he can quickly tell whether or not they're people who are going to go with his personality. So it puts him in the driver's seat.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I want to get back to your questions about dating, because I know I keep veering off in different directions.
No, I love it. It's free-flowing conversation. This next question, Drew asked, any advice on attractive, charming things you can say to start a conversation with someone when you have a very short time window? For example, in an elevator with a girl or at a checkout line or a club line.
Well, I actually just gave a really good example of one line that's super cute and can be playful. But I like to use a method that I call OSA, which is the Wing Girl method for starting conversation. Yeah. It's observe, share, and ask. So if you have 30 seconds in an elevator, you make an observation, you share a little bit about why or where that observation came from, and then you open it up with an open-ended question to pull her into the conversation. So, for example, I don't know, thinking of an observation. Anyway, you said an observation before of I think that hat's awesome. Great hat. Is that because of the Paris tragedies? You make an observation, you share a little bit about why you've made it, and then you ask a question. That would be the best way to start a conversation. But if you really just want to ask a girl out and you have 30 seconds to do it and you're in an elevator, and you can be really bold and say, we've got 3 floors, tell me everything about you in 30 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you out, right? Because you're cute. You can be as playful as you want to be, but you really want to put your intention out there as fast as possible. It just depends on how bold you are, and it also depends on how attracted she already is to you. So if she's if you walk into an elevator with a girl and she already thinks you're attractive, you have an increased chance of her saying yes to you if you act bold. But if she's not into you, then you have to work a little bit more, and that's where OSA can come into play. And you can tell if she's already into you if she kind of looks up at you and looks away, maybe goes onto her phone. She makes her body kind of small and dainty while in the elevator and maybe looks at you again to see if you're looking at her. Those are signs that she's already attracted to you.
Cool. No, I love that observation thing. I always say, if you want to learn how to start a conversation, the first one I always say is just make a light observation about either the person or something in the environment. So that's exactly what you said, and I love that. I want to get your opinion, though, on, during the day, because there's, a general rule out there, during the day you should go more direct and be bold with your intentions, because, women are more logical headspace and it'll be received better, whereas at night, at the club, where they're getting hit on by...
You have to work it. You have to work for it at night. Everybody's out. They're going to have countless opportunities being thrown their way. Yeah, so I completely agree with that. Women are way more open and they're more caught off guard when a guy approaches them. So they're not their barriers aren't up. They're not ready for combat mode. Right. At that point.
Would you say that women almost become more intrigued and interested when a guy approaches them during the day and is direct like that? Just being direct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, if I always use Whole Foods as an example, because maybe that's the only time I ever get out of my house, but when I'm at Whole Foods and somebody kind of uses OSA on me, they get more points for it, and I am much more open and welcoming of whatever they have to say. It's but if I'm out and we're at a restaurant or we're at a bar, I'm more closed off, definitely.
That's interesting. I don't know why I just thought about this, but it's random, tangent. What is your opinion, or what do you tell guys when they approach a girl, maybe at night or even during the day, and they say, I have a boyfriend or I'm married or anything like that to imply that they're not available? What do you tell guys in that situation? Do you tell them to just dart out of there and leave and be more efficient?
Peace. Yeah. It depends what position you're in, and it depends how much you actually want to invest in this girl. But if she's a really cute girl and you happen to see her with her other friends who are also cute, you say, got a boyfriend. You go, okay, great. Introduce me to that girl over there. If you got the boyfriend, you're going to be my wing girl, and you're going to help me with that girl over there. You don't have to be so forceful, but just remember that women are always watching you. Okay, So if you are like a really confident guy, you've got good body language, you're interacting with a few girls, and these girls are responding to you by laughing and talking, all they can see is that visual, right? So if you're talking to this girl and she's like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," you're like, "That's cool." Like, and then you start touching her in some way. If you present yourself as someone who looks awesome with other attractive girls, that's going to pique other females' interest. That's why the wing girl method works so well, because it validated you to other women in the room. Oh, he's already with girls. Okay, and they're cute. That's interesting. I'm going to pay attention to him. So just remember that other people are watching. So as soon as she says, "I have a boyfriend," you don't have to exit right away. You can, I don't want to say use her, but use that interaction for a fun interaction that could potentially lead to something else. But if you're on a mission to sleep with a girl that night or meet somebody that you really connect with, and this girl says, "I have a boyfriend," you go, "Okay, great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good for your boyfriend. That's wonderful. Come get a drink with me, or come find me out on the dance floor. We can have non-sexual, completely PG fun, and just make fun of it and play with it a little bit, and then go find other girls to interact with."
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I tell guys that have given me those questions before like that is I always say almost exactly what you said. Is I've had experiences in the past where I'll be talking to a girl and she either has a boyfriend or she's engaged, but she's like, "You're cool. I want to introduce you to my single friend."
Right. Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So I always say,
I can say, listen, I'm married, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always on the lookout for my single girlfriends.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I still like to flirt. So I like to get in conversations with guys. And so just know that other women are great publicists for you if they like you, right? And they'll say, "Oh my God, become my friend Stephanie. She's so cute. Come over here." And then she can introduce you. So yes, always understand that the opportunity in front of you and the entire night with somebody that has a boyfriend, if you're not asking to be introduced or they're not offering to introduce you to anybody else.
Exactly. Okay, so before we run out of time here, let's get on to the third and final question. This guy said, and that you'll probably be able to answer this really well, "I'm meeting up with a girl later today, and she says if it's okay for her friend to come," or basically she asked if it was okay for her friend to come. He said, "I don't want that. What's the best way to say that I don't want that?"
I would have made a sexual joke for sure.
Okay.
I was hoping both of you would come. Okay, and you don't want that to happen. So, sorry, did he say that he's seeing this girl, or?
I think he's just meeting up with her for a first hangout or a first date kind of situation, and she just said, "Oh, can I bring my friend?"
Okay, so she could be asking for a couple of reasons. Number one, she doesn't want it to get sexual, so she's bringing a friend as a buffer. Or number two, she likes you, but is kind of nervous to just hang out with you one-on-one. So I don't know the age group of these girls. If it's an older girl, she's not going to have a buffer there to make her feel more comfortable. She's going to be doing it to send a message that she's not into you. She's saying this is just a friendship hangout. But if it is a girl who's 23 and under, it could be either of those options. So it's kind of difficult. So I know you may not want it, but it may help you gauge what's really going on with her, and you have an opportunity to kind of use that friend to your advantage, right? Because you can get her friend to also like you. You can win her friend over, and she can see how awesome you are, and then that could make her like you more. If you really don't want her friend to come, you can just say, "The truth is, I really wanted an afternoon alone with you. I want to get to know you better.
Right.
Let me know if you're not comfortable with that. I'm totally open to having your friend come along." Something like that gets your point across of what your intention is. I really want to hang out with you because my goal is to get to know you better. But you can just be really honest.
That's cool. That's almost exactly what I told them. This was like an exchange on Facebook where we were commenting back and forth. And the first thing I said was almost exactly what you said. I was like, "Dude, why are you trying to block the threesome?" It was obviously I was joking. It was being facetious.
No, but if you're confident, you throw that out there. Why not? We'll see how the night goes. Hopefully, both of you will come by the end. It depends on what your relationship is. If you've already established that that's the kind of banter you throw out there, you can pull that off. But if you've been like super sweet and super nice and you go to that sexual level on that text, that's creepy.
Yeah.
She's gonna cut you off super fast. So, make sure that you pull those things out
if it's
in
congruent
the right
to you.
time.
Right.
And yes, exactly. Make sure it's consistent with who you've been enjoying. I had, oh my god, I totally forget what it is now. Oh, what did he say? I totally forgot. But it was a situation that was like that where he used somebody else's material.
Yeah.
And they were having like great banter, like over text. And he showed me their texting conversations. I was like, "You're funny. Like you got great banter."
Yeah.
And then he tried to escalate things by using somebody else's program, and he went from like here to here
real quick,
super quickly. Yeah. And they were gonna go on a date, and she just said, "No, this is not for me." Like he got really sexual. He said something like, "You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking about like." Coming after you from behind, but like it
did
wasn't.
He spell coming with C-U-M?
No, but he didn't do that. But it was like something about like coming at you from behind, something that was really sexual that wasn't supposed to be sexual. Yeah. It just did not play out right, and it just was not consistent with what he wrote before. Because it was very like PG rated flirting and banter and teasing. Yeah. And then he was talking about like coming at her from behind and holding her and like kissing her on the neck, and it just was like.
That even gives me
like it made me want to throw up when I read it because I was like, this is disgusting that you're going to this level. It's just, it's too much too soon, and she didn't give you permission to get to that level yet.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the other thing I almost wanted to add, like, to what a girl would, like, when she has to bring her friend was, I was like, I literally said, you can say, that's cool only if I can bring a friend of mine, let's turn this into a party, or something like that.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Oh, exactly. That's perfect. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to bring my buddy so we can make this into a double date. So it's still putting out there, like, what's happening between the two of you.
Yeah.
That it's to go on a date. We're not hanging out as friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's perfect. That was a good suggestion.
Right off the top of the dome.
So fast. Quick wit.
Yeah, so I guess to close out this Q&A interview, let's go over, like, a few, like, dating myths. And I want to just, like, throw it out there, and I want to get your opinion on if it's fact or myth, or even your, like, input on it. So, dates should happen on the weekends, like Friday or Saturday. Fact or myth?
Myth. Nothing should ever happen when there's no rules.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Do you believe in, like, some nights are better for dating rather than...
I believe all nights are great for dating, but the truth is that weekends are there to meet other people. So I would say if you can do during the week dates, that would be a better option for you. And as you get more serious, that's when you start to give people those weekends, depending on how old you are.
Okay.
If you're above, let's say 28, weekends.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that 100%. All right, next one. Dinner dates are the best dates.
No, they're horrible. horrible. Ugh. Again, over 35, great idea. I hate them. They're like interviews, high pressure. You watch The Bachelor. Those people fall in love so fast because they're doing something interesting. They're doing something interactive. They're walking around. Unless you are a huge foodie, I would say no. Don't do dinner dates. And plus, they're super expensive. And if you're going to be dating a lot, you don't need to be spending that much money.
And you're locked into like one
you're
table
locked
for
in. Unless you are like a regular somewhere and you really like the food and you're very comfortable in that setting, you know people, you can interact, then no dinner dates.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree.
Good.
So, next one. You, as the man, have to pay for everything on the date.
That is the truth.
Truth?
Unless she states otherwise, and even then, like, you still gotta pay.
Okay. So
I don't know if it's funny because I try to talk to girls of all ages because I'm not 21 anymore.
Yeah.
And even girls who are 21, 26, like they still say he doesn't have to pay, but he's got to pay.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't want to say that he doesn't have to pay, but like for them to feel like a woman, he has got to pay.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's not going to kill the whole interaction if you don't
No,
pay,
exactly.
But you lose points a little bit if you're like, hey, will you pay?
There's like a little red flag that pops up. We just interviewed this woman on our podcast, but she's also like 45. But She had met this guy from a dating site. They had met for coffee, and she got there and said, "Oh, I'm kind of hungry." And he said, "Well, why don't you go grab something to eat and then come back here?" And so his thing was like, I meet a lot of women. You can pay for your own coffee, which I kind of like. And I didn't like that she said, "I'm hungry, feed me," when she showed up to a date either. But I said, "Okay, well, did you see him again?" She said, "Yes." She's like, "It was a red flag when he said that, but he did it in a very confident, polite way, and there were so many other things about him that I liked that, yes, I did see him again."
Yeah, cool. What would you say about the situation where if you're at a date and you offer to pay, but then the girl insists, "No, I want to pay for my food," or whatever, and she's not necessarily doing it because she's not interested, but she feels like she wants to be independent and self-sufficient. I don't know, like.
Okay, you say, "You know what? I've got this.
Yeah.
Why don't we go for drinks and you can get me a drink?"
Cool. That's exactly what I do. I say, if you want to pay, how about you get the next round of drinks? That's exactly what I do. So, next one. It is best to wait. This is almost, I got this from Hitch. It is best to wait until the end of the night to kiss her, or even wait 3 dates to kiss her.
No, if you want to kiss her, kiss her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I going to waste 3 dates on a girl who I hate kissing? Like, I'm not going to wait 3 dates to find out if she's a bad kisser, you know? So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, 3 dates seems so long to wait for a kiss. Yes. I mean, it's nice, it's respectful, but I will tell you that as a woman, it's like, if you aren't getting that reinforcement that this guy wants to be sexual with you, then it's like your energy for him sort of starts to fade. So my sister just started dating somebody, and she's 27, super cute, and she went on her 3rd or 4th date, and after the 2nd date, they kissed, but it was like peck kisses, and she said something to him after the last date because she's like, "I'm getting mixed messages from you. I just want to clear things up. Like, are you interested in me?" Yeah. And he said, "Yes. What would make you think that I wasn't interested?" And she said, "Well, because when we end our date, you just sort of peck me on the lips. You don't want to do more." And he's like, "Oh my God, I was just trying to be respectful. I didn't want to be too aggressive with you. Next time I will definitely do more to you." But for her, she was saying that it was a big turnoff that not that, I don't know how to phrase it so that guys aren't like, running around raping women, but like, it is fine to continue slowly escalating and going a little bit further, but still asking permission from the woman to do so. So it's not like you're just going in and ripping her clothes off without her permission. She's letting you, but you can try to go to that next level, or at least show that you want to.
Right. So I guess the line right there would be, if it's happening, don't hold yourself back just because society tells you got to be respectful or be a gentleman or whatever.
For sure. And I would say, listen, we're all grown-ups now, but if you do look at this woman in a serious way, and you do want to get to know her better and potentially get into a relationship, you can go a little bit slower, but I would still say you want to keep taking things up a notch. Right. And you can take your time having sex, but you want to have things progressing, because if it's not progressing for women, they're like, "What's going on? Why isn't this moving forward? I like him. Does he like me? I want it to continue."
Yeah. She wants you to be like super romantic, like Don Juan, charming, and like candlelit dinners, and the whole romance story.
I don't know who she is. It depends. I don't want that. But when you start investing too soon before somebody else is investing in you, like in terms of romantic gestures, it feels eager, over the top, and needy.
Right.
So I'd need to define that a little bit more, but I would say save extreme romance for your relationship.
Sounds good. Yeah,
when you can do little romantic things, as it's exactly like I said for the last question. Continue to build and escalate. Yes. As you invest more in her, she can invest more in you. And if you show that you're both on the same page, then continue to be romantic and let that grow.
Awesome. Love that answer. And the last one, if you're dating around, or even if you just start, like if you want to pursue this girl in a relationship, should you try to be super witty over text? Like, you're sitting there and you're like, "Oh, it's not witty enough." And then you like come up with a paragraph and it's like super clever or witty, or at least attempting to be. Like, what are your thoughts on guys texting women like that?
My thoughts on that being purposely witty?
Like, let's flip this on its head. If a guy texts you and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" and like that's as interesting as he ever gets in his text with you, and it's like very bland. So like on the flip, do women hate that aspect where it's like nothing special? Like you could have sent that to 20 guys or 20 girls.
It also depends who's writing it. So if it's a guy I really like and he says, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, he wrote. I'm so excited. How long should I wait to write back? But if I don't know who this guy is and I just met him, I don't have a connection to him yet or any investment, and he says, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, I don't know. Ha ha ha. I'll write. I have no investment back because anybody could have written that text. It's not anything that shows him. I know that that's hard to do, to like come up with something that shows who you are, that's also witty and authentic. It's very challenging for a lot of guys. But I would say most often do not use "Hey, what's up?" Try and at least start a conversation by going back to where you initially connected and pulling something from that conversation. So if you met at a farmer's market and you both happen to be looking at apples, I don't even know, right? Yeah. That's your connection in some way. You had 2 seconds with her, and you could say like, just ate my Granny Smith, like absolute, whatever you want to write about. Like have something that draws back to where you had that connection at first. Yeah, that's what you can break.
And it's almost like definitely unique to that one person. Like you couldn't have copied and pasted and sent that to 20 other girls. Like it's unique.
I mean, you could. I don't know if it would make sense to all those girls.
I mean, if you're standing at the
apple barn for 3 hours in a row. But yes, exactly. You want to make it a little bit unique. The one thing that I can pass on that can help you, anybody who's watching this, it's just like it's getting clear on where you're making your decisions from, and you can just ask yourself a few simple questions. Am I doing this so that she'll like me more? Yes or no? If you are, then don't do it. If you're doing this so that she can think great things about me, again, that's giving somebody else your power, right? All you need to know is that you're doing it because you want to, and it fulfills a goal, not a need for you. Gotcha. Right? That comes from a more confident place. It's the same thing in business. It's clear, concise communication about what you would like moving forward to achieve your goals. Yeah. You're really cute. I like talking to you. I want to take you out for dinner next week and get to know you better. Great. Yes or no? You can be smoother, you can be more charismatic depending on your personality, whether it's through text, verbal communication, email, I don't know, whatever way you want to talk to somebody. That's what's got to come across.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Marni, for coming in today and joining us. Great talking to you, Marni, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Okay,
cool. And that is it, guys. If you want to find more from Marni, you can go to winggirlmethod.com, where you can pick up her best-selling book, 10 Mistakes That Men Make with Women and How to Avoid Them, or you can just listen to her Ask Women podcast, and you can find out a lot more information and value from her there. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video, and if you aren't already on the email newsletter, click on the link in the description box, and I will see you on the other side.